Grief was supposed to fade with time, but for me, it turned into silence. My name's Leo, 34, and I clean offices after hours when the world sleeps. One ordinary night, I found something that didn't belong, a leather wallet with $10,000 cash under a desk. Returning it seemed the right thing to do, until the address led me back to my childhood home. The man who answered the door looked exactly like an older version of me. Before we dive in, tell me where you're watching from, smash that like, hit subscribe, and get ready, because what happened next still haunts me. Working nights had become my normal. Most people feared the dark. I found comfort in it. The world felt quieter after 10 p.m. No ringing phones, no managers breathing down my neck, no one to judge a janitor who'd once had bigger dreams. The downtown Chicago office building I cleaned was 15 stories high, modern glass and steel, but at night, it felt like a hollow shell echoing with the ghosts of ambition. My shift usually started the same way. I'd punch in, grab my cart full of supplies, and take the slow freight elevator up to the top floors. The building always smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, printer toner, and loneliness. The hum of fluorescent lights became my soundtrack, mixed with the soft thump of my boots and the occasional buzz from an old vending machine. People don't realize how strange an office feels when it's empty. Desks that were alive with chatter during the day now sat under the eerie blue glow of computer monitors left on standby. Photos of smiling families watched me as I vacuumed carpets and wiped fingerprints from glass walls. Sometimes I'd pause at those photos, wondering what kind of lives those people had after leaving this place. Did they love their families? Did they ever feel invisible like I did? That night, something was off from the start. My supervisor, Tony, called in sick, which meant I had to cover his rounds. Every floor, every office. I didn't mind the extra pay, but I hated being alone on the executive floor, the 12th. The others avoided it too. The lights there flickered more often, and the air always felt colder, like the building itself was holding its breath. When the elevator doors opened on 12, the floor was completely still. The hallway stretched long and silent, broken only by the faint whir of the air vents. I started down the corridor, pushing my cart, humming softly to chase the unease creeping up my neck. My last stop that night was Jameson and Reed Consulting, a corner office suite with frosted glass doors and heavy wooden desks that probably cost more than my car. I'd cleaned that office plenty of times before. It was classy, mahogany furniture, abstract art, a liquor cabinet that told you exactly how important the occupant thought he was. But what I remember most that night wasn't the decor, it was the silence. It wasn't normal silence. It felt weighted, like the room was waiting for me to do something. I started with the usual routine: empty trash bins, dust picture frames, wiped down computer screens. As I bent under the main desk, my rag brushed something solid, something that didn't belong. My first thought was a phone or maybe a dropped stapler. I reached deeper, fingers sliding across cold tile until they hit soft leather. When I pulled it out, my stomach tightened. It was a wallet. Thick, old, heavy. The leather was worn smooth, edges frayed as if it had been carried for years. And when I opened it, my breath caught. Inside was a neat stack of $100 bills, 10 of them. I thumbed through the cash, the weight real, crisp, and far too much for anyone to just forget. $10,000. Enough to pay off half my debts, maybe more. For a long moment, I just sat there, staring. The fluorescent lights above flickered once, as if the building itself were watching. A war started inside me. Nobody had to know I found it. No one was around. It could have easily disappeared into my pocket, and no one would have questioned a janitor about missing money. But something in me, maybe the voice of my mother, maybe guilt, kept whispering, "Do the right thing." So I turned to the ID slot. The driver's license read Leonard Hayes. And when I saw the address, I felt my heartbeat stumble. It wasn't just familiar. It was my childhood home. I must have read that address a dozen times. 125 Maple Ridge Lane. It didn't make sense. That was where I grew up until I was 10 years old. The same small house with the peeling blue shutters. The same dead-end street lined with oak trees. My mother and I had left after my father disappeared. No one had lived there for decades, at least not that I knew of. I checked the license again, hoping I'd read it wrong. But there it was, clear as day. Leonard Hayes, 125, Maple Ridge Lane, Naperville, Illinois. The wallet felt heavier in my hands now. as if the bills inside weren't cash, but bricks pressing on my chest. My logical side said it had to be coincidence. Maybe this Leonard guy just happened to live there now. Maybe my brain was just tired. But another part of me, the part that still dreamed about that house, couldn't shake the pull I felt to go there. I told myself I'd just drop it off, do the right thing, and move on. I'd even leave it in the mailbox if nobody answered. That was the plan. Simple, quick, and moral. But as I clocked out of work and stepped into the freezing midnight air, the plan already felt fragile. The city was wrapped in fog, streetlights glowing in soft halos. My old Toyota groaned to life as I started the drive out of downtown, windshield wipers squeaking against the drizzle. The farther I drove, the quieter everything became. The highways emptied, then turned into winding suburban roads I hadn't seen in over 20 years. Every turn felt like retracing a dream, familiar yet wrong somehow. The map on my phone glowed faintly in the dark, but I didn't need it. My hands remembered the way. I passed the old gas station where my dad used to buy me sodas after baseball practice. It was boarded up now, graffiti covering the pumps. The small park where my mom used to take me on weekends was gone. Just an empty lot and a broken swing set left behind. With each mile, nostalgia mixed with unease. My childhood wasn't perfect, but it had been real, warm, simple, and gone too soon. Seeing it all decayed made me feel like I was driving through a ghost version of my own life. When I finally turned onto Maple Ridge Lane, the fog thickened. The street was almost pitch black, except for the occasional flicker of a porch light. The houses looked smaller than I remembered, like they were shrinking into the night. And then I saw it. My old home. The same narrow front yard, the same crooked mailbox, and, most haunting of all, the same oak tree that had held my childhood tire swing. The swing was gone, but the branch still sagged as if it remembered the weight of my laughter. The house looked different yet unmistakably the same. The faded blue paint had been replaced by a darker shade, but the porch lights still hung at an angle. Someone was living there, clearly. I sat in the car for a full minute, staring. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel. I thought about turning back, about forgetting this whole thing, but something deep in my gut told me I had to see it through. I grabbed the wallet from the passenger seat, wiped the condensation off my window, and stepped into the cold. The air smelled faintly of wet leaves and nostalgia. Every step toward the porch felt heavier than the last. When I reached the door, I hesitated. The house seemed alive, like it was breathing softly through the cracks. A faint light glowed from inside, warm, yellow, domestic. I took a breath, swallowed the lump in my throat, and knocked. At first, nothing. Then, the sound of slow footsteps from inside. The door opened, and standing there was a man, older, maybe in his 60s, silver hair, tired eyes. But my stomach dropped because those eyes, those sharp, blue-gray eyes, were mine. The same scar above the eyebrow, the same crooked smile line, the same face, just aged 30 years. For a moment, we both just stared. Then his lips trembled. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered, "You came back." For a few seconds, I couldn't move. The man standing in front of me looked like my reflection after 3 decades of hard living. Same angular jaw, same tired eyes, even the small scar under the chin I'd gotten as a kid when I fell off my bike. He didn't just look like me. He was me, or at least an older, worn-down version. He blinked back tears, hand trembling as he clutched the doorframe. "You came back," he said again, his voice a mixture of relief and disbelief. I swallowed, unsure what to say. I think there's been a mistake. I found this wallet." I held it out. "It has your name and this address." The man's gaze dropped to the wallet, and his whole body tensed. His lips parted slightly as if he wanted to speak, but couldn't. Finally, he whispered, "Where did you find it?" "Under a desk. At Jameson and Reed Consulting. I was cleaning after hours." He stared at me for several long seconds before taking the wallet. His fingers brushed mine, and for a split second, it felt like static electricity jolted through my arm. Sharp, unnatural. Then his eyes filled with tears again. "I never thought I'd see you again," he murmured, voice cracking. I frowned. "You must be confusing me with someone else." "My name's Leo." He gave a broken smile. "I know." I shifted, uneasy. "Look, I just wanted to return this. It's late and Please," he interrupted softly. "Come inside." I should have said no. Every instinct screamed to turn around, but curiosity, Or maybe something deeper pushed me forward. I stepped into the house. It smelled faintly of coffee, old wood, and something sweetly familiar. The same vanilla air freshener my mom used to buy when I was a kid. My eyes swept across the living room. The furniture was modern but cozy, and the walls were lined with framed photos. That's when I froze. In one of the photos, sitting on the mantel, was a boy, maybe 10 years old, grinning at the camera in front of a Christmas tree. I recognized the smile instantly. It was me. The man noticed my stare. He turned toward the photo, his shoulders sagging. "That picture was taken the winter before you disappeared," he said quietly. I blinked. "I disappeared?" He nodded slowly, his voice trembling. "You were out playing in the yard one evening, and then you were just gone. No note. No signs of struggle. Your mother and I called the police, searched the woods for days, but you were gone. Forever." My chest tightened. I didn't know what to say. The story didn't make sense. It couldn't. My father had left us when I was 8. My mother and I had moved to the city. I hadn't vanished. I'd lived my life. I remembered school, birthdays, everything. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Sir, I think you're mistaken. My dad left when I was 8. My mom raised me alone. We lived in Chicago." The man shook his head slowly. "That's what you remember. What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. He looked at me, and I swear, I saw years of grief in his eyes. "It means you don't remember everything." He walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a thick, worn photo album. Inside were dozens of pictures. Me as a baby, me at my 5th birthday, me holding a baseball glove next to a man who looked just like him. And then a newspaper clipping. "Local boy, 10, still missing after 5 days. Family desperate for answers." The photo in the article was unmistakably me. I stared at the page until the words blurred. "That's impossible," I muttered. "That's not real." He sighed and placed a hand on my shoulder. "I wish it weren't." Outside, the wind howled against the windows, rattling the glass. The old house seemed to breathe with us, like it had waited decades for this moment. I turned to him, anger and confusion swirling. "Who are you?" He met my gaze, eyes wet. "I'm Julio." Or the version that was left behind. The room tilted. My throat tightened. "That's insane." He gave a pained laugh. "Yeah, I said the same thing the first time we met." I stared at him, my pulse pounding in my ears. The way he said it, calm, resigned, as if he'd practiced those words for years, sent a chill straight through me. "You're saying you're me?" I managed to choke out. He nodded slowly. "Yes, but not from your time. From mine." I let out a dry laugh. "Right. So what? You're some time traveler? Or maybe I'm on a hidden camera show." He didn't laugh. Instead, he opened the wallet I'd brought and pulled out a small, faded photo tucked behind the cash, a picture of a woman and a boy. My mother and me, standing in front of that same oak tree in the yard. My voice caught in my throat. "Where did you get that?" "I took it," he said softly. "The day before you vanished." I shook my head. No, that can't be. My mom gave me this exact photo before she passed away. I have it framed at home." He just looked at me with quiet sadness. "You think you do." My breath came faster now. "You're crazy. This is insane. There's no way any of this." "Leo," he interrupted, his tone sharp but not angry. "How old were you when your father left?" 8, I said automatically. He nodded. "And what happened right after that?" I frowned. "We moved. Mom said we needed a fresh start. She said Dad wasn't coming back." His eyes softened. "She didn't tell you the truth." "I didn't leave, Leo." "You did." The room tilted. "What?" He rubbed his temples, like the memory hurt to even touch. "You disappeared from the backyard one evening. We never found you. Police combed the woods, divers searched the river, nothing. For years, I blamed myself. Your mother never recovered." His voice broke. "She died thinking I'd driven you away." I backed up, shaking my head. No, that's not possible. I'm right here. I didn't disappear. I lived my life." He walked to a shelf and pulled out another item, a missing person flyer, yellowed and folded. My 10-year-old face stared back at me, printed beneath bold black letters. "Have you seen Leo Hayes?" The date on the flyer made my stomach twist. October 17th, 1990. That couldn't be. I was born in 1991. I felt lightheaded, my knees weak. "This doesn't make sense," I muttered. "The dates don't line up. You're saying I went missing a year before I was even born." He nodded sadly. "That's what I mean. Something fractured. Time split, and you," he pointed at me. You became the piece that shouldn't exist. I stared at him, disbelief mixing with nausea. You expect me to believe I'm some glitch in time? I don't expect you to believe anything, he said softly. But I've spent my whole life waiting for this moment. For you to come back. Why me? Why now? He hesitated, then looked at the wallet. Because of that. I followed his gaze. The wallet. He nodded. It's always the wallet. No matter how many times I try to bury it, burn it, throw it away, it finds its way back to you. What are you talking about? His eyes glistened. The night you vanished, I found that wallet lying in the yard, right where you'd been playing. I thought it was just some lost item. But when I opened it, there was $10,000 inside, and an address, this address. It didn't belong to anyone in the neighborhood. I didn't understand. I thought maybe you'd been taken. Maybe the wallet was a clue. He looked down, voice trembling. And then one night, years later, I found the wallet again. Under my desk. Just like you did. I felt my hands grow cold. You're saying this keeps happening? He nodded slowly. Every version of us finds it. Every one of us decides to return it. And every time, it leads back here. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the two of us. Identical faces staring at each other, caught in the same impossible loop. I felt like I couldn't breathe. What happens next? He sighed, the weight of decades in his voice. That depends on the choices we make this time. The wind outside howled, rattling the windows again. The house creaked, as if it were listening. For the first time, I realized something terrifying. This man wasn't lying. Or if he was, he truly believed every word. And worse, a part of me was starting to believe it too. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched thick between us, heavy with something unseen, something that didn't belong in the ordinary world. The air itself felt charged, humming like static before a storm. Finally, I whispered, if what you're saying is true, then what the hell am I? He looked at me with pity. You're me, just not from here. You came from a version of reality that wasn't supposed to exist. My laugh came out dry, nervous. You realize how insane that sounds. Yes, he said quietly. And yet here we are, standing in the same house, 30 years apart, holding the same wallet. I opened my mouth to argue, but the room suddenly seemed to shift. The walls wavered for just a second, like heat waves rising off pavement. I blinked hard, but when my vision cleared, everything looked subtly off. The photographs on the mantel had changed. The Christmas photo that had shown my mother now showed only the old man and me. No mother, no decorations. What the? I muttered, stepping closer. He nodded grimly. It's starting. What's starting? The overlap, he said. Every time the wallet returns, the timelines start bleeding into each other. Objects change. Memories rewrite. The past begins to leak into the present. My head spun. You're saying this house, this whole reality, is falling apart because I found a wallet? Not because you found it, he said. Because you returned it. I turned toward him, anger bubbling under the confusion. Then why didn't you just throw it away? Destroy it. His face twisted in pain. You think I didn't try? I burned it once. Watched it turn to ash. The next morning, it was back on my desk, good as new. He walked to the window, rain streaking down the glass. The wallet isn't just an object, Leo. It's a tether, a link between us. A cold sweat crawled down my neck. My heart hammered so loud it hurt. I ran my fingers through my hair, pacing. This is insane. I'm leaving. I don't know what kind of trick this is, but I'm done. I turned toward the door, but something stopped me. The reflection in the hall mirror wasn't right. It was me, but older. For a split second, the reflection shifted, my hair gray, my eyes hollow. Then it flickered back to normal. I stumbled backward, pulse racing. What the hell was that? The old man didn't even flinch. The cracks are widening. What cracks? Between timelines, he said softly. Reality can't hold two of us in the same place for long. Every time the wallet finds its way back, it forces us together. But it's never lasted this long before. My breath came in short bursts. You keep saying this happens, like it's a cycle. Why? What's the point? He turned, eyes glistening. Because one of us keeps making the same mistake. I froze. What mistake? He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up the wallet again, holding it like it was a sacred relic. This thing doesn't just connect us through time, Leo. It remembers. Lightning flashed again, casting his face in a white glow, and for an instant, I saw something behind him. A flicker of me, standing where he stood, whispering something I couldn't hear. The lights blinked off, plunging the house into darkness. I felt the floor tilt, the air grow heavy, and my thoughts scatter like static. Flashes hit me, memories that weren't mine but felt real. I was driving through rain. I was screaming at someone in the passenger seat. Headlights. A crash. Then, silence. When I blinked, I was on my knees, gasping. The old man knelt beside me. "It's coming back, isn't it?" he asked. My voice shook. "I saw something. A car accident. My mom." He closed his eyes. "That's how it always starts." The room pulsed again, reality rippling like fabric stretched too thin. I felt something deep in my gut, the horrifying sense that I was being unstitched from the world. "Tell me what's happening," I demanded. He met my eyes, tears streaking his face. "You're remembering the truth. The life you thought you lived, it wasn't real. It was the rewrite. And now, the real memories are bleeding through." I clutched my head. "No, that's not possible." He whispered, "You don't understand. The wallet isn't cursed. It's a door." "A door to what?" I asked, voice trembling. He looked at me with an expression that broke my heart. "To the moment you were never supposed to survive." Thunder rolled outside, shaking the windows. I could feel it now, the air bending, the space between us warping like glass about to shatter. Something deep inside me knew he wasn't lying. The world was unraveling, and I was the thread being pulled loose. The storm outside grew furious, wind slamming against the windows like a living thing. I could barely hear my own thoughts over the thunder. The old man, the older me, stood there trembling, his hand clutching the wallet like it was both salvation and damnation. I took a step closer. "You said this is a door to the moment I wasn't supposed to survive." "What do you mean?" He looked at me, haunted. "You already know. Somewhere inside, you've always known." I shook my head. "No, I don't. I remember cleaning offices, struggling to pay rent, losing mom when I was 10, moving from place to place. That's my life. That's all I know." He let out a deep, shaking sigh. "That's the version you were given, but not the truth." Lightning flashed again, illuminating his face, lined with grief and guilt. "The truth," he said, "is that we died that night." My blood turned to ice. "What?" "The night of the crash," he continued, voice trembling. "We were driving home from your birthday dinner. You were 10. It was raining, hard like tonight. I was behind the wheel. Your mom was in the passenger seat. A truck ran the red light. We never stood a chance." I stared at him, unable to breathe. "No, that can't be. I remember the crash. Yes, but I survived." He shook his head slowly. "You didn't. None of us did." I stumbled back, gripping the edge of a chair to steady myself. "That's insane. You're saying I'm a ghost." "No. Worse." He walked closer, eyes desperate. "You're a remnant. A version of me that refused to die. You clung to reality so tightly that the universe gave you a rewrite, a life built from scraps of what should have been. But it's unstable. Every time you touch the wallet, the veil between our worlds weakens." I couldn't process it. My chest hurt, my lungs burned, and I wanted to scream. "You're lying. You're just old and crazy. I'm real. I'm alive." He stepped closer, trembling. "Then tell me this, Leo, why do you remember everything in fragments? Why do you wake up some nights thinking you're still a kid? Why does your reflection sometimes look older than you?" My voice caught in my throat. I had noticed those things, the fragmented memories, the moments where I'd catch myself humming songs I didn't remember learning, the flickers in mirrors. My mouth went dry. "You're saying I'm living in some kind of echo?" "Yes," he whispered. "An echo trying to become real." The air felt thick, almost electric. I looked down at the wallet still in his trembling hand. "So what is it really? Why does it keep coming back?" He hesitated, then opened it slowly. Inside, beneath the bills, was something I hadn't noticed before, a small photograph, aged and creased. It was me, as a boy, sitting in the back seat of a car, smiling, holding a birthday balloon. "This photo," he said, "was taken the day we died. It's the last thing the world ever saw of us." The wallet belonged to the paramedic who found the wreck. He said when he reached us, "Your hand was clutching this photo so tightly they couldn't pull it free." He looked at me with hollow eyes. "When I woke up in this world, it was in my pocket. I thought I'd been given a second chance. But then, things started changing. People who once existed were gone. Places looked the same, but felt wrong. Every few years, the wallet disappears and returns with you. A tremor ran through my hands. You mean every time I find it, you reopen the loop, he finished. And it starts all over again. You find the wallet, return it, come here, and reality tears a little more each time. I sank into a chair, dizzy with disbelief. The storm howled outside, lightning flashing through the blinds. So what happens now? I whispered. He swallowed hard. Now we make a choice. What kind of choice? End the loop, or let it keep resetting? I frowned. How do we end it? He stepped closer and placed the wallet in my hands. It felt heavier than before, warm, like it was alive. You have to give it back, he said. Not to me, to where it came from. I looked up, confused. The crash site. He nodded. It's the anchor, the only place it belongs. If you take it there and let it go willingly, we might finally rest. But if you hold on to it. He didn't finish. His eyes darted to the wall, where a photograph began to melt, colors running down like paint. The world was coming apart. I stood up, clutching the wallet. Then I'm going. He reached for my arm, his grip surprisingly strong. Be careful, Leo. The closer you get to the truth, the harder it'll fight back. I met his gaze one last time. If you really are me, then you already know I'm not giving up. He smiled faintly, proud, sad. That's what I was afraid of. I turned toward the door, rain lashing against the porch outside. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I was walking into the world, or into whatever came after it. The old man called out behind me, his voice breaking through the thunder. Leo, whatever happens, forgive yourself. I paused at the threshold, the wallet burning in my hand. For what? His voice trembled. For killing us. I froze. Before I could respond, the world flashed white. When the white flash faded, I was no longer in the house. Rain pounded against my shoulders, soaking through my uniform. The night smelled of gasoline and burning rubber. I knew this place instantly, though I'd never seen it like this before. The twisted guardrail. The broken lamppost. The black skid marks slicing across wet asphalt. It was the crash site. My breath came in sharp bursts as I stepped forward, mud pulling at my boots. The storm howled like it was trying to drown out the truth. I looked down the embankment, and there it was. A rusted sedan, crumpled and overgrown with weeds. My old family car. I moved closer, lightning illuminating every broken piece of glass like frozen tears. My reflection glimmered in the shattered window. Inside, I could barely make out three shapes, silhouettes of people long gone. Mom in the passenger seat. The older man, me behind the wheel. And in the back seat, a boy with a birthday balloon, frozen in time. My throat closed. I pressed a hand against the cold metal, the rain mixing with tears I hadn't realized were falling. I'm sorry, I whispered. The air shifted, a low hum building around me. The same hum I'd felt back in the house, vibrating deep inside my bones. The wallet in my hand began to glow faintly, warmth radiating from it. I opened it, and the photograph, the one of me as a boy, had changed. This time, the boy wasn't smiling. He was staring right at me, as if waiting. I remembered what the old man had said. Give it back. My hands trembled as I crouched by the wreckage and slid the wallet through the cracked window, placing it gently on the boy's lap. The instant I let go, the storm stopped. Rain froze midair, suspended in motion like glittering glass. The sound of thunder cut off mid-rumble. Even my own heartbeat slowed, until it was just silence, vast and infinite. Then a voice, my own, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. You did it. I turned. The older version of me stood at the top of the hill, calm now, no longer trembling. His face was soft, at peace. I walked toward him. Is it over? He nodded. It's over. The loop's broken. I looked back at the car one last time. So what happens to us? He smiled faintly. We rest. We stop reliving what we can't change. The wind stirred again, not harsh this time, but gentle, like a whisper. The air shimmered around him, his form growing faint. Wait, I called out. If we're both fading, who gets to stay? He looked at me with eyes that seemed younger than before. Neither of us. The world will move on. Someone else will find a different story to tell. And then, he was gone. The road brightened. The dawn was breaking, pink light bleeding across the horizon. I stood there, alone, my hands empty. The wallet was gone. The wreck, too. All that remained was a stretch of wet asphalt and the faint smell of rain. For a moment, I wondered if any of it had been real. Maybe I'd fallen asleep while cleaning. Maybe the wallet was just a dream. But when I looked down, I saw a small photograph lying at my feet, the same one of me as a boy, but this time, the boy was smiling again. I picked it up, tucked it into my pocket, and walked toward the rising sun. As I reached the top of the hill, I felt lighter. Not happy, exactly, but free. Maybe that was enough. And if you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. What would you have done if you found that wallet? Would you have returned it? Or kept it, not knowing what it might awaken? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I love hearing your theories and experiences. Don't forget to like if the story gave you chills, subscribe for more mind-bending tales, and share this with someone who enjoys mysterious stories that make you question reality. Thanks for watching. And remember, some things we find aren't lost. They're just waiting to be remembered. See you in the next story. Stay curious and stay safe.